Welcome back to All 32. Jamal here with you. I know it's been a while since you last heard from us. We had to step in the lab for a couple months after the season ended before stepping back on the mic. So before I address the changes that's been made, let me remind you to follow the Hog Style on Twitter to stay up to date with any Redskins news, articles, fan polls, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes as well, and check us out on YouTube too. And lastly, obviously check out the updated website. And feel free to leave some comments on the comment boxes that's now available to you. And you can check out all our content as well on there. Even the Washington Valor, Washington's AFL team, who just got their first inaugural win Friday night against the Baltimore Brigade, I think. Yeah, it's a Brigade. So if you're an AFL junkie, check out the Valor cast. Our guy Alex Z's got you covered. He does a good job on that work. So now that we got that out the way, a few changes been made to all 32. Your boy Maul is running the point on the show now. So I got a couple friends with me that's co-hosting. Montel, the self-proclaimed knowledge dropper. Those are his words, not mine. How you feeling tonight, bro?
Feeling good, man. Ready to get into the show. Of course, I'm dropping knowledge on them today. Some real knowledge. So just ready to get to work.
I hear you, big dog. And then we got Rye Reed, the leader of the Rockpool fan club. He's the best that ever does it. You can never talk about 98 in a bad way. So he will check you on it. Just be careful. Ryan, how you feeling tonight, man?
Man, I'm just happy to be here this evening, man. I ain't had nothing to drink this afternoon. They say God had to rest on the Sabbath day, so I ain't had myself to drink.
So that's your excuse today, right?
Yeah, man. I figured out if I needed an excuse, what better one would it be?
You know what? That's fair. But look, let me tell y'all something, man. I had a flag game today, and one day before practice, a couple Thursdays ago, I actually took a little swig of the Jack Honey.
You had a little sip?
I had a little swig. No, I had a little swag before the practice, and I said, you know what? That shit tastes a little bit good, bruh. So Sunday came today, this morning. I did the same thing. Guess what I did?
Oh man.
Three catches for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I lost 14-6. Those numbers don't add up to me.
All because I took a swig of the Jack Honey before the game, man. That was my warm up. Oh man, it's not a bad idea, man. Sometimes on Sundays, but I don't blame you, Ryan. So like I said, Ryan and Montel is gonna be doing the show with me, and they're pretty good at this football stuff, man. So I'm very appreciative of the situation. So if y'all ain't got nothing else to say, we'll go ahead and get right into it. Y'all good?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right, that's a bet, man. So it's a conversation that I missed out after Romo's retirement recently. That there was an argument to be made that he was better than the 3-time Super Bowl champion Troy Aikman, I believe. So before we go into the specifics, like the stats and all that type of stuff, I guess we'll go ahead and introduce the conversation that was had yesterday, which is this is recorded on the Sunday, so this happened Saturday night. So Montel, if you don't mind, man, go ahead and inform me on this conversation so we can talk about this little argument that happened yesterday.
All right, so basically, this argument took place yesterday, as Maul stated earlier. Ryan was definitely under the influence, as you can tell by the argument that we even bringing up right now. But it was basically said that Romo would have been just as productive as Troy Aikman was behind the offensive line and run game and some of the defenses that Troy Aikman played behind. Granted, he made a pretty good argument, but I still completely disagree because of the conversation that we had previously, which most of our viewers probably won't get to hear. But I basically brought up some points about Romo being a klutz in big-time pressure situations. I brought up several different moments, like the late December game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he threw a pick on a potential game-winning drive. The 2 back-to-back interceptions against the Packers in December. the fumble field goal against Seattle. It's so many different moments where he's done this, and sometimes you say, you know what, that's fluke. That can't be. That's not who Romo is, because in October and November, fourth quarter in pressure situation, he steps up and he make plays, but he's done this year after year, and one of my friends, Eric, he brought up the fact that Romo didn't have the weapons that Troy Aikman had. He didn't have some of the defenses that Troy Aikman had. And I woke up this morning, and I just had to. I just couldn't believe what he was telling me. So I woke up this morning and I took a look at some of the players that uh that Romo actually had, and some of the defenses that he had. And this is what I found. Give me just a second. I'm trying to pull up my notes, but in 2012, 2011, 2009, 2008, and 2007, Romo had top 20 defenses, and four of those were top 15. Three of them were top 10. Not to mention, those were the years. Some of those years, three of those years where they had top 15, top 10. I'm sorry. He had T.O., Jason Witten, Miles Austin, Marion Barber,
Oh,
Julius Jones, and people they were knocking Patrick Creighton last night, but one of those seasons Patrick Creighton dropped 7 touchdowns. So I was just confused as to where he was lacking this help that everybody was talking about last night. Granted, Ryan did say he had help, but you can't tell me that he could have did what Troy Aikman did, because he had opportunities and he blew it in big time situations. I know a fan, and I brought this up last night. He said, "Man, I've been a Dallas fan my whole life, and anytime we had a chance to do something big, number 9 got in the way." And a lot of people get, they kind of get this perception that I'm saying Romo was a bad fourth quarter quarterback. No, I'm saying he was bad in pressure situations in December when it really mattered, when you needed him to step up most. He a lot of times he lost those games, and I'm sorry, like I stated last night, he lost some of those games, and it wasn't on the defense, it wasn't on receivers not getting open, it wasn't on the run game not being effective. It was simply because he couldn't he didn't make the plays needed to be made when it was time to step up, and that's pretty much all I got to say. It's hard to compare Romo to a 3-time Super Bowl champ like Troy Aikman. I think that's a little bit disrespectful in my opinion.
The argument, the argument that I was making yesterday. I mean, people brought up Troy Aikman last night, and just throughout the Super Bowl rings, and then I don't. It was just a spread of my own conversation, and the argument on my behalf was just on skill set alone. I feel like Tony Romo has the same tools that Troy Aikman had. Troy Aikman is a very accurate quarterback, and I believe that Tony Romo is just as accurate and has just the same amount of talent Troy Aikman had. Now, when you're going to compare those Dallas Cowboys teams that won the Super Bowls, it's no comparison to any roster you want to name. Troy Aikman's Super Bowl teams trump any ring Tony Romo's had. Like I mean, that's just facts. Like
I can agree with that.
I don't even have to go down the roster, right? So as Montel knows, as much as any other Dallas Cowboy fan, Dallas asked Romo to do a lot more than what they asked Troy Aikman to do, right? I mean, Tony Romo's down there out there throwing 40, 45 passes a game, some games out there. Like Troy Aikman maybe averaged like 24 passes because he was giving the ball to Emmitt Smith most of the time. I mean, I'm not up here to make any excuses or even say that he's better than Troy Aikman. It's just the fact that I think, you know, just for hypothetical speaking, if they traded Rose, I feel like they still win the same 3 Super Bowls. I mean, because
You said if they
if
traded who? My bad.
no, not trade, but swap like
Oh,
Romo.
okay, I got you.
With,
If they
you know,
swapped Romo and Aikman.
yeah, if you swap them, I don't see the drop off. I mean, skill set alone. I mean, I find it hard for somebody to disagree with me because I mean, he get out there, he has those blunders like you mentioned. You want to go with the fumble snaps. Don't get me wrong, man. Tony's had his bad days, man. You know what I'm
We
saying?
know.
He's had his bad days, but nobody can argue the talent Tony Romo had, and I feel like it was just as equal as I can't think of too many things that Troy Aikman does that Tony Romo can't. I mean, and I will find it hard for you to rebuttal that. So I mean, that's just why I stood in the argument.
All right, well, let me ask y'all these questions, man. So, as I stated before, I wasn't there when the conversation took place, so I'm just an outsider listening to these two arguments. So let me just ask this in a so it won't I'm not necessarily picking a side here, but let me ask y'all this: when it comes to certain quarterbacks, obviously we are on the Hogside Network, so there's a lot of Redskins fans that listen to this. Let me ask y'all this: do y'all believe that Kirk Cousins, when it comes to certain games or certain situations,
We
um,
brought up last night too. I'm
I
glad you
brought
oh
brought
up
it
yeah,
up.
Kurt last night. Of course, you
so
know
I
I
did.
brought him up.
I
so
did.
so listen, let me ask you this then. It's because it's a two-part question. So the first part is when you look at certain quarterbacks, um, and I'll just use Kirk Cousins as an example because he hasn't necessarily won. He's won a few big games in the regular season, but when it comes to like last year, the winning in situation, and then in the playoffs in 2016. So when it comes to certain games, do you believe that quarterbacks have a certain look on their face or provide a certain level of confidence that the team kind of necessarily gravitates to? So, for example, like, do you believe that if that confidence isn't showing in that quarterback, that it can reflect on the team around him?
You
I,
who you want to go first?
I feel like you
Go ahead,
go ahead,
Montel.
man.
Oh,
Oh, okay, no, it don't matter to me. But this came up last night into the conversation because as a Redskins fan, I feel like Kurt has a lot of Tony Romo tendencies, where in the big games, and you may not be able to see it on their face, and sometimes you can. I brought up the 2012 game with the Redskins where Tony Romo threw 3 picks, and like I said, a lot of those were his fault. Like it was plays where it was just like, Romo, what are you doing? And he threw a floater right to Perry Riley, like right in his hands. And
Rob
even
Jackson.
as a skins Rob Jackson, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But when he threw that
Yes, I
pass,
do.
it was when he threw that pass, it was literally like Romo. As a Redskins fan, I was like, Romo, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, why did you make that throw? And Kirk Cousins did the same thing last year. Crunch time to get into the playoffs. We're playing New York Giants. That's a terrible throw at the end of the game. You don't make that pass at the end of the game. And it's like we were the number 2 ranked offense going into December. And then once we get to December, when the level of play steps up from every team, we lost to 3 teams who weren't even going to be in the playoffs: the Arizona Cardinals, the Carolina Panthers, and the New York Giants. Granted, those were some good defenses, but it was just like as a
Uh,
Skins fan, no, they weren't going to the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs. No.
well,
But
I did. Go ahead. I'll let you finish right
yeah,
quick.
I feel like I know what you're about to say. Arizona kind of had something to play for, somewhat, but the Panthers and Giants didn't have anything to play for. And I understand that the offense as a whole didn't really show up, but you can pull the tape, and it was receivers that were open that Kurt missed. It was passes that Kurt missed. Granted, sometimes he was under pressure, but great quarterbacks make those plays. And I brought up Tom Brady last night, and I kind of hate to compare anybody to Tom Brady, but he is the standard of what you want a quarterback to be, him and Aaron Rodgers. I've seen Aaron Rodgers with no run game, where I've seen Tom Brady and Bill Belichick completely abandon the run. I've seen them throw receivers open. But like I said, it's hard to compare anybody to those guys. But at the end of the day, you need a guy who's going to step up in those pressure moments. I understand our defense was terrible this year, but your defense gave you a chance to win those games.
Man,
Your
I'm
defense
look.
gave you a chance to win those,
I'm just.
especially against the Giants.
I'm just look. I'm trying to. First off, I appreciate the fact that you didn't wandered far away from the question, far
I
away
was
and
just
beyond
about
from
to say.
the
I
from the
was just
question.
about.
I appreciate that, Montel. But there's two things I would like to point out. The first thing is when you mentioned the 3 teams that we lost to, first off, one of them was playing for something. Well, actually, all 3 of them were at the time. At the time being, the Cardinals were
Really.
still fighting for a playoff spot. They were only 4. They were only 4-6-1. We were 6-5-1 or 6 something like that. They were still fighting for the 6th seed. The Panthers, they weren't eliminated from the playoffs, so that's why they were still playing. That's why Cam Newton, who had
What?
a that you go ahead and fact check it, bro. I'm not lying to you. And then
Bro,
I'm not making no excuses. I'm just saying they had something to play for. So I wouldn't downplay that particular point. But that's that alone is not what I was
the Panther
asking.
season was
Not what
over
I
at
was
the time.
asking. What I was
Yeah,
asking you guys were, do you
yeah.
believe that a quarterback displays a certain level of confidence that can that the team around him can play off of? So if that confidence is not there, can they play down to the level of the quarterback that's leading them?
To
My
direct
answer was yes, basically.
All right, so Ron, what you think?
to directly answer your question, yes, I do think it's a total reflection on how your team is going to play because a perfect example would be just past Super Bowl. I mean, granted, it's the great Tom Brady, but you look at the post game interviews that most of the players had, and they're going down. What is it, 28-3? What is it,
Yeah,
23 going into the
something like
like?
that.
They
24-3.
came out they said there was no rah rah speech in the locker room. It was we got 12 on the squad, and we come back out there. We're gonna get these stops. We're gonna get the ball back because we all know what he's gonna do when you get it back. So when you out there playing with that confidence, it's like I gotta get a stop. I gotta get this. We gotta get off the field on third down because I know if I give him the ball back, we back in the game.
Hell
But
yeah.
if you going out there with a quarterback like I don't want like let's Jay Cutler. You know what I'm saying? You
Romo.
go out there you get it 3-0, and it's like, man, this dude better go there and throw a pick. Like I don't know what's the point of me
Exactly.
out here about to throw my neck in this A gap when they got max protection, and I'm about to get my head knocked off, and I know and I know all I'm gonna do is go on the sidelines and watch him get the ball right back to the offense. You know what I'm saying? Like it's when you out there with that confidence in your quarterback and your team leading, and you it's like we got a ball game anytime he out there.
I got you. So here's the second part to my question, so I could finally wrap it. Ryan stated that he felt that you can swap Tony Romo and Troy Aikman, and they'll probably win the same amount of rings as Troy Aikman did in the '90s. So my second question is, if you believe that the confidence plays a factor sometimes in how the team or the offense plays, in particular, do you believe that the way Tony Romo's what some people like to call competition anxiety locally. If he has competition anxiety, do you think that he would have done the same or as close to what Troy Aikman did with under the helm of those '90s Cowboys teams?
That was my biggest argument right there.
Ron, you
Well,
go
man,
ahead. No, Ryan,
all right,
I want to hear
I,
Ryan. I want to hear
okay.
Ryan answer this one first.
So the thing about it is, you can look at like just to touch on some of the same points I was making. I mean, you can look at a lot of these games and point to the bad games that Tony Romo's had, but you can also counter those same games with games that he's gone down there and shown he can be that quarterback. So my thing is, he's proven it and shown that he can do it on a kind of consistent basis. I mean, people want to say it's inconsistent, but I guarantee you, it's more game winning drives than not game winning drives for him.
Oh
Than
yeah,
in times
I agree.
he's
I agree.
see
But
what I'm
that
saying? Like, and I can be that same defensive player that I was just thinking about. If I go there and get that stop, I know my quarterback. I'm feeling the same way with Tony Romo out there, man. Like I feel like I got a good chance to win with Nine out there. I mean, you win with him and you lose with him. That's just the job of the quarterback, man. Like you get the credit when you. I mean, you don't get the credit when you win. You get the blame when you lose, man. That's just the court. That's just how it is, man. The quarterback is the most important position on the field. You touch the ball every single play. You just gotta have that man out there that you got confidence in, and I feel like Tony Romo fit that bill for the most part.
I think that's a common misconception, man. And I brought it up earlier. You brought up his game winning drives and his consistency as far as winning games in the crunch time. But he's consistently lost games in the crunch time in December when it matters most. That's my biggest argument. I don't care what you do in September and October and November. Granted, you got your team to this point, but when it's time to step up and make a play in December, when football has revved up, and anybody that watches football knows the game really changes and takes a different step when it's getting closer to the playoffs. He doesn't step. He's consistently failed on those stages when it's time to step up. So I don't think that's what I'm saying. Like we've seen Romo do it time and time again. It's not fluke. It's just not fluke anymore. That's just my opinion. I don't think he would have got rings with those guys.
All right. Well, see, and this is one of the things that, like I said, we've been in the lab for a few weeks now. But I mentioned this maybe like a week or two ago, or actually it was last week because this is when he retired. But essentially, when Romo failed late in games, it wasn't like a minor pick sometimes that that you was like, damn, all right, well he made that mistake. These are the type of things that happen. This is a quarterback. He has the ball in his hand 24/7 when the offense takes the field. It was more so a goddamn mudslide. Like it was an avalanche, bro. It wasn't just one turnover. It was more likely 3 or more likely 4 turnovers that done him in. And that's the reputation that he's gotten from a lot of people today. I understand, and I agreed with, like I said, I agree with Ryan. He's had more clutch moments than he's had failures. But when you look at the failures, then you see it's not just
The
uh
magnitude. Get you?
yeah, it's the magnitude that comes about these failures. It's a high level of failure. Like, it's not just a minor mistake. It is a multitude of mistakes that's being made by Romo that causes the Dallas Cowboys to lose games. And that's what I think builds upon the reputation that he's a choker in big time situations, because of how many mistakes that he makes in crunch time. So
So
I see both sides. Oh, I'll let one of y'all take, whoever
I
had
just I
something to
just
say.
wanna as and I want both y'all to answer. When you look at just the skill set alone, aside from any other game losing drives that he's done, or the like, those games that you guys are pointing to, skill set alone, do you think that Tony Romo has the exact same kind of tools that Troy Aikman possessed?
It
All right, yeah,
take
that's fair. Yeah,
Nah, it takes more than physical skill set. It takes a
But
huge
that's just my
mental.
question, though.
you just asking for the physical
Okay,
skill
yeah,
set.
he has the physical tools, but there's a lot of quarterbacks with physical tools who aren't good.
I've seen, I've heard somebody, even his own teammates, call Tony Romo one of the smartest players ever played with. Jason Witten. I mean, granted, they best friends, but like, I mean, this people say Tony Romo is one of the best quarterbacks to call a game, like, out there. Like, Tony Romo is not
When
nothing to be
when
sneezing
I
at.
say when I say mental though, I'm talking about in crunch time and you're folding. It's some guys in the crunch time they want the ball in their hand, and it's some guys in crunch time you can see that they aren't the same players. I think you gotta add that. You can't just sneeze at that either. Troy Aikman never made the mistakes that he made in the crunch. I'm sorry, man. I told you last night. I would rather my team be 4-12 than 9-7 and have the chance to go 10-6 and go in the playoffs and my quarterback kill me every year. I'd rather be 4-12, man. I'm sorry.
But shit, you tripping, bro. I'd rather be in it every single year
Not
than
me.
rather have no chance. Than rather have
Not
no
me.
chance at all, bro. I can't. I can't
As
do
a
that.
fan, I would rather. I'm sorry. What hurt more, going 4-12 or Kirk killing us with that last interception versus the Giants this year? What hurt
Man,
more? Be honest.
I would say the 4-12 of like '09 probably hurt more because 2013 was surrounded by drama, and so was 24. I mean 2013 and 2014. So I would say '09, something like that, where we went like 4-12. I would say that.
A lot of those four and
Where we
twelve
didn't
seasons,
have
I
where we
lose.
didn't have a team.
I lose interest mid-season, and I don't care. But when you keep me in it all the way, and then you just gut punch me at the end, I'm sorry. I don't want that feeling. I'm sorry, and I'd rather take the high draft pick. That's just me as
I
a
mean,
fan.
hey, that's fair. First off, we have a Titans fan here.
Huh. How about
So
him?
They've had a lot of
so
4-12
so
seasons.
Ryan, how was it these past few seasons, man, where you guys were top two, top three in the draft consistently. How was those seasons compared to this season where unfortunately I make it that type of situation, but it was unfortunate that Mariota got hurt and kind of ruined any chances for a postseason berth.
Man, as a fan, is miserable. I'm not gonna sit there and act like it's not, but the crazy thing is, man, me being as tuned in as I am about this team, man, like, you can't tell me every offseason that we ain't got the tools to get out there and make some noise. And I
Here
mean,
you go with
a,
these
a, a
twos
lot
again.
a lot of the time we get out there, just we just can't find a ways to win games, man. Because if you just pull out some of these box scores of my team, man, it's like you really start looking at the game in a different kind of way, because you start to seeing the plays that matter, that count at the end of the game. It's
Oh my goodness,
like
bro. The same shit
like
happened with us this year.
it'd be like second and 10, and you need them 3 yards that you needed on second. You know what I'm saying? It just you start looking at the game a whole another way, because you start looking at plays that's going to matter at the end of the game, and it's just as a fan is heartbreaking. But we on the up and up.
So, all right. So, but we actually was going to get to the AFC South next. So, I guess we'll go ahead and start now. But just a quick question: how would you feel as far as this comment that Montel made? You rather go 4-12, or you rather have a chance to make it to the playoffs each year?
Nah, I'd rather have a chance to make it to the playoffs every single time. I've been on the other end. See, I've been suffering. See, y'all don't understand.
Uh,
I haven't been to the playoffs since 2008 and haven't won the playoff game since '03. How about it?
Damn.
How about it? So I don't want to hear nothing that y'all talk about right now.
See, but he just brought up the fact that it's times where he looked back on games they should have won. I bet you don't look back on those games where you got blown out though.
Oh, definitely I
But
do.
you don't want to get blown out all 12 losses,
Man.
bro. What you talking about?
I'm just saying I'm saying what hurts more. We know what hurts more. Let's just be honest, man.
I don't want
Those
to. I don't want to give
losses
you.
hurt.
I don't want to make.
I mean, it hurts, bro. At the end of the day, you got something to build on, man. Like you
You
go,
think that?
you go. No, you can't. No. You can't just be going in the 3-13. Like I'd rather just go 3-13. Then you always gonna have mentality. I don't, whatever.
Maybe it's because I've been a Skins fan and we've been bad for so long too. That's just how I feel. Like they'll leave you on the edge of your seat. Like that Bengals loss. That's what I'm saying. Like I still call it a loss to this day. Like I've never been more frustrated as a fan.
Oh yeah, because
The
we should have won
Giants
that
lost.
twice.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Giants lost, the Lions lost. I'm looking back on all those games, but the games that we got beat, like the Panthers game, I fell asleep on that joint. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't care. That's just me as a fan. I don't leave me hanging, and then don't keep me in
Oh,
it.
you done
Then
fell
leave me
asleep on the
hanging.
Giants, John too.
But I
And
woke
you know
up at
what's?
the
But
end
listen though, you know what's crazy for all those that's listening out here? Look, we was down 10-0 when when Montel was asleep,
because I know my
and he.
team.
But listen though, this man texted the group chat after we done tied the game up, talking about something. I'm woke now. Let's go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and see if we're gonna win this game. The
I
minute
woke.
the minute he texts us talking about he woke up is when we lost the game, bro.
But that's
So
what I'm
imagine if he was
saying.
asleep. If he was
That's what
still asleep, we probably would have won, honestly.
If I was still asleep, I wouldn't have seen Kurt throw that interception. I wouldn't have been upset neither.
He wouldn't have thrown it if you was still asleep.
Hey, you a
Uh,
fool,
oh man, nah,
That's
I'm
fucked
just I'm
up.
just dreaming, dog. I'm just dreaming. So yeah, man, about this AFC South talk, man. What you first off, Ryan? How you feel like? Cause personally, me and a lot of people get Ryan shit on the daily about these Titans, man. So I'm gonna give Ryan the floor about these Titans, man. How you think the Titans going so far this year in the offseason?
Man, I can't tell you how excited I am to talk about this right now, man. First of all, I'd like to thank Maul for naming this topic, man. It's been a while since I've been waiting for this opportunity.
Not a problem.
But I'm gonna try my hardest not to sound like a fan. I'm really gonna try my hardest to separate the fandom and just talk straight football. But I'm feeling, if you ask me how I'm feeling strictly about just the Tennessee Titans alone, I'm feeling pretty confident about it. I mean, going off from what we had last season, we was a game removed from making, winning our division title up until that Week 15 Jacksonville Jaguars loss, and Marcus Mariota went out with a I believe it was a torn fibula. We just, quietly made some quiet moves. We picked up Logan Ryan. We re-signed some key players that we needed to come back to the team. We bringing back all our core players. We didn't really lose anybody. And I got so much faith in our GM John Robinson. He's making a lot of moves, and he already made a big time move this past year with the DeMarco Murray trade. We basically got him for next to nothing. Swap 4th round picks.
Yeah.
That DeMarco Murray move just really just transformed us into a more physical team, and I feel like we got an identity, man. Like it's no more that seeing Tennessee Titans on the schedule and just thinking you got a W, you got a cakewalk. Like them days is over with. You coming in Nashville, you coming in for a dogfight, and I feel like that's all I can ask for as a fan. Like going out there and getting blown out on a weekly basis is not fun. You know what I mean? And I feel like they showed that fight, they showed that competitive spirit, and showing that we got that leader behind the helm. We got number 8 back there, that one, out
I
there
thought you
making.
was talking about Matt Castle.
No, come on, come on.
So nah, bro. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Had a great season, 26 TDs, about 34 yards passing, 26 9 interceptions. It's a Pro Bowl for one for that throwing fiddler, but I mean we got a good spot coming up, man. So will you I'm sorry. Were you asking me just about the AFC South or just the Tennessee
Now,
Titans?
just overall, like how you felt about your Titans, man.
Okay, yeah, I pretty much wrapped it up as best as I could.
The one thing I appreciated with them, and actually surprised me, man, is how y'all not I shouldn't say how, but who y'all were beating this year. Unfortunately, you guys got swept by the Colts, and we're going to talk about them as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the guys that you beat, first off, it was a tough loss against Minnesota, but you beat a playoff. I think you beat what two
Five,
playoff teams or three
five,
playoff teams.
five.
You five?
Yeah.
I know y'all beat Miami. Oh yeah, Miami, Detroit. I'm looking at the
Chiefs.
schedule now. Green Bay, Denver,
The
Kansas
Chiefs.
City.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Houston. So yeah, it's. I think that's the one thing I appreciated about y'all is the fact that y'all played tough. First off, y'all beat Houston with Mr. Matt Castle.
The
You know,
cast and listen, and all they
so
starters played. How about it?
yeah, so I mean, who knows, man? Mariota might be in trouble for his job. You just might
And
have to look out, bro.
word the mall. Just want to let you know, drugs are bad for you, my brother. I just say
But
no
not.
drugs, man.
I got you, man. I got you. Next time I'm offered Jack Honey, I'm a deny him, bro. Put it
Yeah,
down.
that's what that is. That's that Jack Honey talking.
Yeah, man. So I do think I'm not necessarily sure the impact alone Logan Ryan will be because me personally, he was struggling for a good portion of the season with New England, and I think like I shouldn't say good portion, but maybe at least like the first half of the season. But I know he stepped up tremendously in the second half and became a great asset for him. So what I'm saying is I know that's one of y'all biggest signings this offseason.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily sure the impact he'll create coming to you guys because it's a question mark right now.
My
Do
bad. I don't want to cut you off. I do not want to cut you off. But I just want to let you know, I don't think you understand how bad the cornerback play was for the Tennessee Titans last year. So
so he can't be any worse, is what
no
you're saying.
idea how I felt when we signed Logan Ryan. Granted, I agree with all the problems you said he had in New England, but it can't be nothing
I hear you. That's
worse
fair.
than what we had last year.
That's fair, man. So yeah, I do think you guys have a good base. Like y'all have an identity offensively. Y'all gonna pound the rock. That's what y'all like to do. Y'all like to run the ball. Y'all got a two-headed monster. You have a Mariota who's efficient with the football. He doesn't necessarily throw for 400, 350 daily, but he gets the yards. He obviously his main target was I believe it was Delaney. Delaney wasn't hurt this year, was he?
Delaney played.
If I'm not mistaken.
He had a couple DMPs, but I mean he played
Okay,
most of the season.
all right, so yeah, he was. I guess I'm assuming him and what's his name? Was
Rashard
it
Mack.
Tajay? Oh, Rashard Matthews. I was about to say
Yeah.
Tajay Sharp or Rashard Matthews, but both of them was your favorite targets in the passing game. So I think that Tennessee definitely has the tools to compete with who I think is first off the AFC South is sneaky. So I want to get your opinion on that. Both y'all opinions. Montel, if you have anything to add about the Titans as well, which I know you probably got some
Hey,
sneak
just,
this is
hey, just
sneak
be
this is
nice, cuz. Just be nice, please.
But yeah, I just want to get y'all opinion on the AFC South since my man Ryan is a Titans fan. We got to get that out the way.
I was just getting ready to say, man, the AFC South is not sneaky. I I think that that's a pretty bad division.
Oh
But
my goodness.
I do think I do like what the Titans are doing, especially coming from where they have been. I I think Mariota's a straight baller, and I expressed that yesterday, and I think he's the biggest difference. I do like the fact that y'all have found that identity, but this is a quarterback-driven league, and if you got a guy back there like Mariota who's not turning the ball over, who's making plays with his feet, who's making tough passes, tough throws, then you always will have a chance in the NFL. My thing with Mariota is the injuries, of course. Got injured his first 2 years in the league. He has to be able to stay healthy. Granted, they've been kind of fluky. Especially the last one was pretty much it was a very fluke injury at the end of the game, real bad. I actually felt bad for him, because I like Mariota. I don't like the Titans, but I like Mariota. But I think what I'm saying, y'all definitely going in the right direction, but y'all in a bad division as well, which is good for y'all. I think that we gonna touch on the Colts and everybody else later, but yeah, y'all in a terrible division, man. That division is no good.
I think y'all. I think Montel, you're feeding into that AFC South is trash hype, bro. I think that's
I'm
I think that's
not.
a couple years. I
You
think that's a
are
couple years old, bro.
eating into that, and I'm gonna fix you
That
this second.
narrative is a
I'm
couple
trying to
years
tell
old,
you
bro. To me, go ahead, Ryan.
that Okay, so we jumping in the AFC South right now, right?
Yeah,
Do
go
it.
ahead.
So you say the AFC South is trash, and I feel like I mean, not trying to sound like a fan, but the AFC South is definitely on the up and up. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like you got the Colts with Andrew Luck. I mean, I'm sorry, they're never really getting beat by that many teams. Like I mean, they had a bad season last year, granted, but like the Colts was 11-5 consistently for the last couple seasons. Like I mean, previously to that, then the Texans, like they nothing to be played around with. Jacksonville, they had a bad season, but did you the additions that they just came up with? Calais Campbell, AJ Boye, however you say it, however you say his name. They signed Malik Jackson last year. I mean, I mean, Doug Marone with the new head coach. They got Tom Coughlin in there, who's about to change their whole culture, their whole franchise.
Yeah.
I feel like the AFC South is not something that's just. But you see, I feel like a lot of the teams ain't in the AFC South no more. You could just circle them and just think we got a dub today. It's
I,
not. It's not going like things of the past. I feel like it's going to be tough to actually call who wins the AFC South next year because we cannot beat the Colts. I don't know why. I can't grasp it, but for whatever reason, they are kryptonite. We could be anybody else in the AFC South, but for whatever reason, the Colts are just something that we have not wrapped our fingers around. But at the grand scheme, the big picture of the things, the AFC South is definitely moving in the right direction. And I feel like it's not a cakewalk anymore with that division.
See, and that's why I brought up the Colts. I'll let you go ahead, Montel, but that's why I brought up the Colts because they made some moves to help look out on the defensive side of the ball. It's not necessarily being placed on the offense to handle their business anymore. And I think they made a couple moves with John Simon and Jabal Shear. I know you know John Simon because he was with the Texans, Ryan, and
Yeah,
then Jabal Shear came from the Patriots. So in Barkevius Mingo, we don't know much about him obviously because he's been struggling with his past teams. Marcus Hunt got signed, and I don't know Brian Schwicke at all. But
like he came
they
from
signed.
Tennessee.
You say he came from Tennessee?
Yeah, he was a backup center.
Okay, so they had Brandon Williams and signed Kamar Aiken as well. So they're getting some help. They're helping out Andrew Luck as far as defensive side of the ball, and making sure that they have a stout team overall and not just relying on the arm of Andrew Luck, who last couple seasons just couldn't really stay healthy per se. So
I really think y'all giving this AFC South a little bit too much credit.
That's
First and
crazy.
foremost, I don't. I mean, in all honesty, I don't think there are probably like 3 or 4 teams in the NFL that are cakewalk teams. Period. So I mean, they're on, and that's not saying much. I'm just saying like you naming these players, but no one has produced in these situations. Like everyone in the AFC South has like a glaring weakness, like a huge glaring weakness. You mentioned the Colts. Okay. And y'all know I'm probably the biggest Andrew Luck fan in here. I stand by Andrew Luck. Any decision that he makes, I don't care. His offensive line has been neglected. And Jamal, you brought this up last year. And I didn't even notice it until they started playing during the season. The offensive line is terrible. That defense was bad. It's been bad. The Houston Texans, we talked about the Houston Texans before. I like what they're doing, but you don't have a quarterback. You can't. I just mentioned you can't compete in the NFL without a quarterback. And when it comes to playing big games like playoff games, I don't think anyone in the AFC South has a chance if they're going up against like a playoff team, except for the Tennessee Titans. I think that everyone else is a slouch for real, and that's just my opinion. I like what the Jags are doing. I like the pieces they're putting together, but it seems like they never come together. We thought the Jags was going to be much more than what they turned out to be this year. They were 3-13. Are you
well, it's
serious? Like,
because it's because your boy Blake Bortles,
like
the guy that you
exactly.
the guy that
But
you stood on the table for.
But this,
but you're proving my point right now. That's another glaring weakness. Their defense balls out, but you're not going to compete in the NFL without a quarterback. They were 3-13. The Colts were 8-8. I love Andrew Luck. They don't have a line. They don't have a defense. The Houston Texans don't have a quarterback. The only team that can really compete out of the division is the Tennessee Titans, in my opinion.
Well, see, that's you. I disagree with that because last year was just proven. First off, they have a lot more faith in Tom Savage than than a lot of us do who's not close to the situation in Houston. So if Tom Savage can take, first off, they went to the playoffs with Brock Osweiler and Tom Savage at quarterback. That alone defeats the point that you said that the division is trash. So if you think the Titans and if you think the Titans is capable of making the postseason run, then the Texans is up there with them because they did it
Quick
without a
question.
quarterback last year.
Quick
That's the
question.
first thing. The second thing is Indy is just simply just never out of it.
Quick
And the
question, though.
offseason isn't over though. What's
Quick
up?
question. Before the Houston Texans played, we were shouting out scores that they were going to get beat by. We knew that they had no chance. None.
Hold on, what you talking about in the playoffs?
Yeah, we knew they had no
Well, I mean-
chance when they went up against the Patriots. That's like, come on now. Like, let's be real. Like, let's just be honest. Come on, bro. Like, they had no chance. I'm being dead serious. Like, they had
But
no
that's
chance.
not. But that's not what I'm
None.
saying. Like, but that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Like, they still made the playoffs. You're saying you can't necessarily say that the Titans will be the only team that's capable of getting to the playoffs
I
when
didn't
they
say they
already
were the only
did.
team capable of getting to the playoffs. I'm saying once you're in the playoffs, you're
Oh,
gonna
alright,
make some
so-
noise. None of them teams are able to go to the playoffs and make any type of noise.
But based on what? If they don't have a defense, still.
Who you talking about?
You said Ryan just already stated that their secondary was suspect. So
The
I mean, if they have the Titans.
Yeah, I
If there's-
understand. I understand their secondary was suspect, but their front seven made noise. So the front seven can cover up with the back end not doing.
Ryan, what's your front seven looking like?
Oh, the front seven are good, bro. I'm not gonna lie to
I
you.
know. I'm about to say I know Arakpo did his
We had
that little
that
bastard
10
did his
sacks
thing.
both sides. Derek Morgan and
That's what I'm saying.
Nah. I mean, shoot. I just asked. I ain't saying I ain't believe you. I was just trying to figure out from the fame.
yeah. Front seven. You got Jarrell Casey went to the Pro Bowl again for the second
Oh
consecutive.
yeah, I forgot about him too. All right, so yeah, y'all front seven straight. But I just feel like if you feel they're the only if you feel they can make it to the playoffs, then you just can't count the Texans out because you never know. First off, they may be in the hunt for a quarterback in the draft. Who knows? They may
just
like
talking
Tom
about
Savage as the
previous
one,
years.
so-
Last year, I'm more so talking about last year. Y'all talking about this upcoming year. I'm saying like last year the AFC South was trash in my opinion.
Well, yeah,
I think the
mean,
Titans
it was.
are pretty good.
I mean, it was. So I mean, it's nothing else to it. Like if you talking about last year, yeah, but this year is just. I think it's just a different story because it's too many. Well, I shouldn't say it's too many, but it's four teams that has a lot of potential this upcoming season. I'll never count out the Colts because of the fact that what they've been producing over the past couple years. But you have Jaguars, who's in a good situation, who knows what they can get out of Blake Bortles. I don't believe in him per se just yet. He has to prove it to me. But then obviously we know where we stand with the Titans, and we know what Houston does without quarterbacks. So that's just how I feel.
Just a quick point to talk about Jacksonville. You may or may not know, but Doug Maroon has definitely changed how they plan. He came in last year, maybe around week 14 or week 15. I'm not sure, but they play we played Jacksonville on Thursday Night Football around like week 8, maybe.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Do them out.
Ripped them to shreds, right? And they came out in week 15, the same game Mariota, tore his fibula. They play like a team I've never seen before in my life. Like this is under Doug Maroon after they fired Gus Bradley. Offense was totally different. They just had a new swag about the team. And then when you bring in somebody who's tough-minded and stern like Tom Coughlin to come in as your president, I think a president of football operations, if I'm not mistaken, but he's going to bring that different culture to that football team, man. Tom Coughlin, one of those guys, either you love him or you hate him. Either you with him or you're not. And I feel like once he's changed, once you switch that culture football locker room and you get them believing that they're better than what they are, and they load it on paper.
They are.
They load it on paper. And I feel like you just need somebody to bring it out of them, man. I think they just might have that with Doug Maroon and Tom Coughlin.
It might be that Kansas City Chiefs situation with when Andy Reid moved out there. So
Yeah.
you actually got a good point, but I'll just say that I don't believe it until Blake Bortles shows me.
I feel
he's a missing piece because he's terrible.
Yes.
The only guy I know who could throw an interception off a dude's foot.
So you got. Never mind. You got two teams without quarterbacks basically, and you have a quarterback with nothing else around him except for a couple weapons.
I don't know why you keep saying it.
I don't think the Colts have much. I like T.Y. Hilton. I like Dante Moncrief, but other than that, they don't have a run game. They don't have a defense.
Kamara Aiken, he alright. I don't
That's
know why they
cool.
traded Dwayne Allen, but I mean they shored up that front seven. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
I don't. You can't really say that until it's time. Until it's time to strap up the pads and put them on, man. I'm sorry. I gotta see it. I gotta see it. They've been bad defensively and on that O line for a minute now.
All right. I mean that's fair. Um, that's fair. So I mean, do y'all want to? Y'all got anything else to say before we move on about this AFC South?
The Titans got the 5th and the 18th
All
pick.
right, yeah, we
Oh
moving on.
my
So we
god.
gonna go ahead and move on now. It's like, no, this man Ryan funny as hell. Um, we got this little topic, man. Ryan, we want to get you in on this conversation because,
Yeah.
first off, it wasn't even recorded live, but it was damn sure a hell of a topic. But about these rookie running backs that be coming out, man. There's a question because it started within the Redskins fan base with me and Montel, and obviously it became a little bigger talk. But when it comes to running backs and drafting them in the first round recently and past seasons, um, we kind of figured that it just depends. I guess because when you believe on a running back shelf life, you know that it doesn't really last long for running backs nowadays. So one of the questions that we asked was, when do you decide to pull the trigger if you're a GM on a running back in the first round? What traits stands out to you to pull the trigger on a running back in the first round? And to elaborate, we specifically talked Christian McCaffrey. Uh, there was arguments. Montel, I don't know if you want to put your name to this
Yeah.
point that I'm making out that some feel that he's a gadget running back. So you don't really want to take gadget running backs in particular in the first round. So we really based the argument and the question around Christian McCaffrey. So what kind of running back would you take? And Monte, I'll let you go first so we can expand on the conversation. But what kind of running back would you take in the first round? And what about these gadget running backs, etc., all that type of stuff?
I brought this up earlier. Me personally, and like I just I'm not a fan of taking running backs in the first round because they are a dime a dozen. I feel like you should build your team other areas unless you have a scenario like the Dallas Cowboys where they pretty much had it all together as far as that offensive line. And all you needed to do was plug in it back, and you knew that you could get back to what you were in 2014. Most teams don't really have that scenario, and I guess we can definitely talk about the Redskins, where I believe we have a pretty decent passing game, but going back to the Redskins, I don't think that offensive line is shored up at the center position and at that left guard position where Laval plays at.
I agree.
I think we struggle right there, and I think we just have more glaring weaknesses defensively. I would be highly upset if we drafted a running back first round, especially seeing how loaded this draft is with running backs. You got guys like Joe Mixon, who I feel is the most complete back in the draft. But we're going to talk about McCaffrey a little bit because I feel like I definitely wouldn't take him first round. Like I said, unless he falls in that perfect position. I don't feel like he is a first round running back. I think he is a bit of a gadget back because when you think of comparisons from McCaffrey, granted he's a lot bigger than what we all thought initially. He's 205, 5'11", 6 feet basically. He's a pretty big guy, but he doesn't run like a big guy. When you think of comparisons from McCaffrey, you think of guys like Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush, those type of backs. He's not like a physical runner per se. Like I said, he can run in between the tackles, but that's not what he was asked to do in college. I don't think that's what he'll be asked to do in the NFL. But if you're gonna take a back first round, I need for you to be an every down guy, kind of like AP or I like Leonard Fournette, but I feel like he has to fall into the perfect situation as well. Like I just wouldn't take a back that high who I can't rely on to be on the field every single play. That's just my opinion as far as backs go and on McCaffrey.
Ryan, what you think about the situation, bro?
Um, as a GM, when you get in front of these draft boards and things of that nature, you have to just sit down and actually see the running backs that actually how many running backs that like Montel said, this is a loaded draft class of running backs. So when you have the luxury of the loaded draft class of the running backs, you can sit back and just start, saying, well, I don't have to take a running back with the first because such and such is going to be there the next round. You know what I mean? But then you have other draft classes where it's the availability for running backs isn't as high as this one. So you just got to evaluate your team and say, like, can we afford to take a running back right here? Because if we don't take it right here, it might not be a running back left on the board. Now, speaking of strictly McCaffrey, I feel like, in my opinion, he'll be used more so as a receiving running back than he will be a running back. Even though I think he does have the tools to run between the tackles and do all the things that are required for NFL running backs in the league today. But if I'm a GM, I'm sitting there looking. The things I'm looking at the running back. Can you take hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you catch, and can you pass protect, right? I can't have you down third down and my quarterback check, and you're supposed to pick up the blitz on the right side, and you don't know who you blocking. Now my quarterback down on the ground because he just got blindside hit, and that's your assignment. Like, not only can you block, but can you know your assignment and then and then get your man. You know what I'm saying? All that is revolved around the tape and doing your scouting report, but it's some things that you got to look at when it comes to taking a running back. Now, me personally, I would take a running back with my first pick, and if I needed him that bad, and I felt like we had to take him, we don't have anybody on our roster right now, I would definitely think about taking a running back with the first pick. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Hey Ryan, let me bring this to your attention before I let Maul talk, and I know he's gonna talk on it. Think about the top backs in the NFL today, and there's countless of them: David Johnson, DeMarco Murray, LaShawn McCoy, Devontae Freeman. And the list goes on and on. I can keep going. It's so many of them. I don't even know where to start. None of those guys were first rounders, and one of their teams are winning because they built in other spots before taking those guys and plugging them in, and now they're key pieces. But you look at teams like the Rams, Todd Gurley. You look at teams like San Diego, Melvin Gordon. Those guys, they're producing, and they had a good season. They had a bad season, both of them. But their teams are still bad. That was my thing. It's like you could have went and got something else, and then you know what I'm saying. Jordan Howard's another one, late round pick. You could have went, got something else, built your team, and then went and got a back that's producing now. One of those backs that I possibly named. One guy brought it to my attention. Imagine if the Cowboys had took Jalen Ramsey and then went and grabbed Jordan Howard. They would be a much better team, and you would have addressed another need.
I agree 100%. That's a great point, bro. Like, I ain't even gonna lie to you when I sat down and heard you talk about it, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you're doing your job as a scout, you should be able to see that there's other running backs out there that can be just as effective as those ones getting taken in the early rounds. But like when you think about that and you sit down and actually start to ponder, you making an extremely valid point, and I feel like it's definitely something to be talked about, because those running backs you just named, I think Jordan Howard finished like number 2 in the league in rushing, and I don't know what round pick they got him, but
like 5th or 6th.
I mean, and he's nasty.
Yeah, he was like a fourth. He was like a fourth round.
He's nasty. Like, I mean, he's nothing to be played around with. But I mean, I agree with you. I agree 100% with you.
Yeah, so like one of the things that I say, first off, if I'm a GM, I would take a running back in the first round. But for me to take a running back in the first round, I have to first off go by my draft board. And specifically what I mean, like I wouldn't, if I know for a fact that there's other players up there that I'd want, for example, based on a certain team's specific needs, they may need inside line, they may need safety, they may need defensive line help. They also may need offensive line help. But when the draft pick comes to number 17 and they're on the clock, what if the people that they have high on their board in the first round are not there? So then at that point, if they are not there, you do not reach for defensive lineman or that inside linebacker or that safety that you feel like is going to be there in the second round, because you're getting nervous because you feel like somebody else is going to take them after you make your pick. So you take that best quality, that best player available that's valued at 17, or maybe a few slots back from 17, where you can still have a valuable selection. And I think if running back, for example, is on your board, a guy like Dalvin Cook, a guy like Chris McCaffrey, a guy like I don't know why I forgot his name, but the guy from LSU. Leonard Fournette. Yeah, I drew a blank for a quick second. But when you got those type of guys that's in the first round as we're thinking, then you have, for example, a specific team in Washington. Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey creates a valuable. He's a valuable weapon for the Redskins
I'd be
offense.
highly upset.
He's a very versatile weapon. I understand there's a lot of people that'll be upset they take a running back, but you got to also understand what's going to be on their board. If the people that I have on my board is not there at 17, I'll either trade back or I'd make my pick based on who's next up on my board. If that guy is Christian McCaffrey, I'm taking him. I'm not worried about the fact that it's a running back in the first round. A running back in the first round does not slow down the progress of your team, because if this draft is also not only loaded at running back, it's loaded on defense. You can find a lot of players from round 2 on back that will be quality starters for your team. If you can go to the second round and find you an inside linebacker or a safety, you'd be just fine. And there's plenty of guys at inside linebacker and safety that would do the job for you. Past the first round. So I just feel like, and also I feel like Christian McCaffrey is the guy who can run in between the tackles. And I also think he can do it consistently, but I don't think he'll be asked to do it consistently. So that's just how I feel about him.
Pull up the tape, Washington. Watch that game. That's all I'm gonna say.
You said against Washington?
Yeah.
All right, okay, that's one game. That's cool. I can do that.
Man, he played. Yeah, he didn't play in a tough defensive conference. I'm just saying. Imagine if he was asked to go up against guys in the SEC like that. I mean, it's an argument that we'll never know until we see him strap on the pads and play in the NFL. But that's not what he was asked to do in college. For the most part, I've seen him do it before, but it just wasn't what he was.
I've seen him run through the holes, but it just make people miss.
Yeah,
He doesn't have to lower his shoulder, but I mean that's just one thing. But he's ran through the holes, but I meant to say run in between the tackles and make people miss. He doesn't necessarily have to run through his shoulder if he's finding effective ways to get the job done. You know, that's one thing. So that's just how I felt. But you said the game against Washington this year.
Yeah, go ahead and watch that. Yeah, go ahead and watch that game. He wasn't effective at all running between tackles.
All right, draft scout coming up. I will do that. I'll take a look. So yeah, we'll go ahead and close it on this. I do want to talk. We'll get this on the next show because draft coming up. So we'll make sure to get this on the next show as far as the quarterback. So what you take from your rookie quarterback? We'll bring the topic up next show. But before we get up out of here, man, we're gonna go ahead and close it out. Is there anything y'all want to say before we dip? Ryan, before you answer, we understand that y'all have 2 picks in the first round, and that tighten up is the hashtag. So I wanted to get that out there, you know, before you started to pounce on that specific comment. But is there anything that y'all like to say?
I appreciate you going and throwing out that promo for me. I ain't got too much more to say after that, man. I appreciate you throwing it out there. Monte, take the floor, buddy.
Hey, awesome moves, man. But I don't really got much to say, man. We did a lot of talking tonight. We coming up on an hour, as Ryan pointed out. I can't believe it. But yeah, it was a pretty good show. We had some pretty good debating going on. I heard some valid points, so I'm about ready to KO.
I don't even blame you, bro. So yeah, with that being said, first off, to all the Wizards fans out there, don't panic, man. Don't panic, because I wouldn't necessarily say our defense is great, because it's not. It's actually terrible, but we do have the capabilities of outshooting a lot of the potential matches in the first round. So do not panic. We can get out the first round. The biggest round is the second, because we may have to face the Cavaliers. So don't panic. The road ain't over just yet, bro. All right.
Oh.
That being said,
I'm in the second round.
Hey, man. With that being said, man, I appreciate y'all for listening. Make sure you all hit us up on the Hall Star, like I said. If you got any questions, comments, anything y'all want to say that we're wrong about, just shoot us at the Hog Star. And you can hit me up on Twitter as well, at @Mal_AYYMALL. Ryan, you got a Twitter too. Would you want to drop that right quick?
I mean, y'all can go ahead and follow the boy at RyReed07. Go ahead and, you know what I mean, follow him.
Yeah, do that. Hit that follow button for RyReed, man. But appreciate y'all for listening tonight. I hope y'all have a good one. Enjoy your week. Peace.